What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. Let's dive into some Breece Hall chatter. He was recently on the Up and Adams show, and we actually got a fair amount of bravado out of Breece Hall, which is very unexpected. He's been very introverted, generally silent, not one to speak up a ton. So I don't know if it's relative to the expectations we have this season, really what he expects his role to look like. I don't know, but I'm actually loving it, right? This isn't one of those things where you're getting wild comments from a player that really isn't doing a ton, right? And I think about, it's not the same because it's not a positive comment, but I think about that Alan Lazard comments last year about us not necessarily doing enough or handling things the right way when he was a huge piece of what we were dealing with last year. And even then, this early in the offseason, still continuing to deal with when it comes to drops and not really being an effective option out there, at least in the early portion. But Breece Hall had two major takeaways for me from this show. The first piece is that he had a surprising endorsement for Robert Saleh being able to lead this team to a Super Bowl. And to me, I think back again to last year, but realistically, any season since we've seen Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and these guys get drafted, in that we've heard the feeling that they understand the defense has a standard, they have expectations, and that is not the same mentality that the offense has, right? We've heard all of the comments, even from Robert Saleh himself, the Raiders game, right? The first team to get I feel like he said 10 points, but I'll give him the luxury of saying 20 because that seems more realistic. But the first team to 20 points will win, right? In this day and age, 20 points is still a big deal, but it's more of a symptom of an underperforming offense, right? One that's still trying to figure things out, depending on the pieces that they have in place. So things like that really do get frustrating when you go to the flip side of those conversations and you hear them talking to the defense about really not being able to give up any mistakes, right? You force the turnovers, don't allow third down completions. We need to get after the quarterback, and in most cases we also need to find a way to put up points to help out the offense, to help out special teams. So thinking about all those kind of things, hearing Breece Hall, here's what he had to say. I think he's a great leader of men. He's a younger coach, so he's still growing every day, every week, every year, every season. He expects greatness from everyone, not just the best players on the team. It trickles down to everybody. Now, granted, what I just mentioned, Robert Saleh still, in fact, is my favorite head coach since I've really been paying attention to the team, which really has been since the Rex Ryan years, but around Herm Edwards' tenure is when I really, kind of started diving into things and wanting to fully understand what I was looking at on Sundays. What I think some of his best qualities are has obviously been the development of his coaching staff as well as the players on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's even a close argument to be made that anybody has done a better job of squeezing out talent from players walking in on this defense than Robert Saleh and his staff. And even though they haven't gotten the jobs, you can also point to the multiple looks that guys like Marquand Manuel has gotten, Jeff Ulbrich wanting to get snatched up by the 49ers last year, right? You can continue to really look down the list. Aaron Whitecotton can easily be a DC option if Jeff Ulbrich was to move on. I have a ton of respect for the job that Mike Rutenberg, linebackers coach, has also done. Tony Odom is a name that I really would love to see as well. So there's tons and tons and tons of options here. I also love that he's continued the tradition, if you will, of the New York Jets finding suitable UDFAs on both sides of the ball, right? Doesn't mean that they've turned into a Victor Cruz star kind of player, but these are strong role players on this team in many cases, and a lot of that is due to poor talent in certain situations, at least when it comes to the offense. But defensively, still we're able to go out there and find some top tier quality guys. But I do look at some of the downsides, right? Game management situations you don't love from Robert Saleh. Time management is also a thing that tends to, go over his head in certain situations, right? He'll let an additional 45 plus seconds burn off of a clock before he finally ends up calling a timeout. And usually that comes on the heels of there being some kind of mistake in the offense, or, maybe a miscommunication in the defense and what he's seeing out there. And then I take a look at offensive expectations, which we've kind of highlighted on already as all being part of his Achilles heel. But hearing all of that, Breece Hall is, you can make the argument he is our top player on the team, which parlays me into the second piece, which I'm really excited about, which, by the way, I should have put this out there a lot sooner, but a lot of what he mentioned as well about Robert Saleh being able to lead this team to the Super Bowl, right? You think about some of the recent conversations about head coaches that have been coming up. Robert Saleh currently has the highest odds to be the first coach fired this year, right? Plenty of shows are starting to go back through the schedule, looking at the first quarter or so of games, and you can easily see that if we start off slow and we have maybe a 2-4 start, things are going to get really hectic around MetLife for Robert Saleh, right? And as I mentioned, there's obviously some names in that building just on the defensive side that can easily step into a role for him. Ulbrich becomes the de facto head coach. Somebody steps in behind him, like a Tony Odin, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But the other piece of this is the bold statements, because we've never really had it. The closest thing we've heard to him making any kind of, outlandish comment, if you will, is that he may be one of the best running backs in the league, which wasn't surprising based on everything that we've seen whenever he's been healthy on the field. But his boldest statement in his young career so far, he mentioned me being the bell cow of the team. I'm going to be getting the ball the most other than him being Rodgers, right? For one, that's music to our ears. Fantasy guys are going to go crazy for that. But also, it's the way we expect this team to go out there and hit the field. So it's nice to kind of get that verbal confirmation from one of the players we expect to be the main source of production this year, centered around that. Secondly, though, he goes on to say, obviously, we're following Aaron's lead, but I feel like everybody looks at me in that same aspect. If I'm the best playmaker on the team, our offense goes as I go. There's a bit of paraphrasing there, some stuff that gets cut out due to stuttering, right? No major pieces, but this is something that a lot of people, I don't think is talked about enough, so I won't say it's necessarily surprising, but when I think about earlier conversations about top ranked players on the team, Aaron Rodgers wasn't generally in that list for anybody that I've seen, right? We understand his importance, but from a talent standpoint, he's not that guy, right? The defense alone could take up the top 3 spots, but if you want to be kind, you can give it, the Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, right? And then obviously you can throw Quinn in somewhere in that mix, and Jermaine Johnson's been flying over the radar. Quincy's now in the mix, right? So there's a lot of names that you could definitely put in there as of right now. But Breece Hall is essentially our number one guy, right? And if nothing else, what separates him is the fact that, one, we know he's a lead in the ground game, but two, he also can pick up steam in the passing game, which helps out Garrett Wilson and everybody else. But when things are failing and the line isn't healthy, or the line's underperforming, we've seen Breece Hall still have elite games, literally doing it by himself. Porous blocking, penalties from an Allen Lazard that's calling things back, etc., and he still is the main source of us even being in contention for a lot of these games. So I'm really pleased to see him kind of stepping into this light and embracing things, right? I don't think this is the beginning of a villain origin story or anything with Breece Hall, but I love to see this, right? This is exactly what we need, and I hope this is the same mentality that permeates throughout the rest of the running back room, but really that entire offensive side of the ball. At this point, Eagles need to be fully checked. Let Breece Hall be the engine that's powering this thing, and everybody else. I don't want to say that they're, just additional. I was going to say attachments. That's not really the word I'm thinking of, but let them be augments to this offense and not the thing that's necessarily holding us back, or somebody's not thinking they're impacting game as much, right? And that's not something I'm really too worried about. I think when you really look at a lot of comments from like Garrett Wilson, for example, when it comes to being highly critical of this offense, it's always been from the standpoint that nothing else is working and I know who I am. Let me go out there and be able to find a way to help the team. If things are operating at a high level, with Breece Hall being the reason that's the case and Garrett Wilson being another elite element to add into that, I don't think it'll be a problem. So ultimately though, let me know what you guys think when it comes to Robert Saleh and Breece Hall's comments, but definitely Breece Hall staking his claim as the best player, at least offensively, on this team for the New York Jets. And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.